Hey everyone, I'm going to make a very long video, and it's been a while since I've done a complete deep dive into my sensorimotor recovery journey. When I go back and look at my older videos in sensorimotor, to the videos that have done the best, 150 plus comments, lots of views, and a lot of people feel as if they're stuck with this because there's a lot of people out there who don't have what I call the big five: the blinking, the breathing, the saliva swallowing, and the heartbeat. There's all sorts of hyper awarenesses. These particular belief systems apply to everything, whether it's an anger sensation, shame and guilt. Yes, if you have the fear of being a bad person, so you have a lot of shame and guilt from a false memory and real event, you will have to actually change the way you view guilt in of itself, the sensation of guilt, and these principles for sensorimotor apply the most. For the particular view of if this lasts forever, my life is ruined. Before I go any further, please subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. I have not done a video like this in a long time. I'm going to be changing up the way I do my content. Rob and I were discussing some things. We've been cranking out videos as much as we can, TikToks, Reels, Instagram posts. I'm going to slow them down a little bit. And I'm going to enhance some of the quality. It's not that the quality was lacking. I'm going to make these videos just a little bit longer, maybe 15 to 30 minutes. And we kind of just see how that goes. Because I have a lot of people that ask me, I like your videos, but sometimes right when I'm getting into them, they're ending. They're in that 7 to 10 minute range. And I'm really going to just really work on some of the quality of my sensorimotor videos, since so many people are asking me about them. And we have so many people that come in from all over the world with sensorimotor. We can help you. I have completely been recovered from sensorimotor for a couple years. I know it works. I know it doesn't. I made all the mistakes myself. And if you're interested, please reach out to Phil at OCDrecovery.com. If you want to speak to me or anyone else on the team, just put in the subject line, hey, look, I'm really suffering with XYZ sensation hyper-awareness. Can you please help me? And we will get back to you and get you on the schedule as quick as we can. So I do have an actual outline of what I'm going to talk about. And when I get a little bit closer to the disputing part, the actual dib sheet and why this book was so important, the most important book I've ever read in my life for breaking down my fears, we'll go from there. I have my big mug. Everyone always likes to make fun of me because of my mugs. Okay, let's start with the intro of who I am. So my name is Nicholas Jordan Piniella. Okay, I'm from born and raised in New Jersey. I've always thought I handled discomfort well, and I have. I played sports my whole life. I don't shy from a challenge. Anyone that knows me knows I like hiking big 14,000 foot mountains in Colorado. I really want to get out to the Himalayas and really do some really tall ones in South America and really push my limits on the, where oxygen is very thin. And I love that. I work out a lot. I walk my dogs. I like reading books. I like watching things that are difficult to conceptualize. But when it came to me wanting to be comfortable when I wanted to, that was a big no-no for me. So let's say I was watching a movie on the couch. I thought, I deserve this. I need to be relaxed right now. The last thing I need is to have a hyper-awareness of my blinking or my saliva or swallowing sensations. I'm going to talk to you just about kind of how my journey started. My father died on March 28th in 2018. I have it tattooed right here. I was at grad school, so my anxiety was really building at that time period. I had a lot of weird sensations. I didn't like not being the first person done in a classroom because I wanted people to think I was extra smart. I didn't like the sensations of certain clothing. Like when I had like a tighter shirt on, when it was around like my bicep, I would always be like readjusting that. I didn't like particular temperature sensations, so that was a big one for me as well. And all of this was building to my light switch moment, which happened at like 1 o'clock in the morning, somewhere in June in 2019. So I woke up to go to the bathroom. Everyone knows I like music festivals, so I subjected my eardrums to, 20 plus 3-day music festivals, lots of shows. I had 12-inch subwoofers in my car. I was one of those people that you come to a red light at and you're like, I hate this kid. So one of my nicknames in high school was Headphones. I went to every party with headphones on. I'd always be listening to like Eminem and music. Music is a very big part of my life. I love music. So I woke up and went to go take a pee, and my ears were ringing, but it was a little bit different than normal. When your ears start ringing and it goes away for a month or two. Well, this time it just didn't go away, so I went back to sleep, and I woke up an hour later, and it was very loud. In that moment, the light switch turned on. 24/7 chronic OCD, that would not go away. So what did I do in that moment? I totally freaked out. I ran into my now wife's room. We weren't even engaged at the time. We slept in separate rooms. I definitely had a weird thing about that as well. And we sleep in separate rooms now, but I think a lot more of it back then was based around, I need to be comfortable. I need no one to distract me, et cetera, et cetera. Now we just thoroughly enjoy sleeping in separate rooms because the dogs keep us up. So I don't really sleep that well. And anyway, I've never really slept that well. I mean, if I sleep 6 hours straight, that's like a miracle. So if I sleep 5 hours straight, that's a miracle if I really think about it. So I woke up, Erica freaked out. When you go, like when you live in an apartment, you have the vents. I'm checking the vents. Is it coming from inside my head? Is it coming from outside? I spent the remainder of June, July, August, and September. So 4 months going to audiologist appointments, going to the emergency room twice, crying, not sleeping. I think I slept like an hour or two a day for the first 2 months. I mean, I was dead exhausted. By the way, I was still in school. So I still had to get all my schoolwork done at the graduate level, which I think I was totally out of the classroom. I was in clinic by that time, so it wasn't as bad. If that would have hit me the first 2.5 years of grad school, I would have been fucked because I had to sit, it would have been really tough because I had to sit still from basically 7:30 to 5 o'clock at night, like high school all over again, listening to, learn about pathology and neurology and everything. So that would have been a fun time. But maybe it would have been better actually because I would have had better structure because I was in clinic and it was kind of like partish time, getting ready for graduation. I just would stop going to clinic. Erica was really concerned. She's like, why are you not going to clinic? You have to go there and do your schoolwork. You have to get your credits. I just was a mess. So it was really bad. Somewhere around the end of August, I found a book called Rewiring Tinnitus by a guy named Glenn. I think that book is really good now that I am where I am today. I think Glenn was missing many, many key parts. Glenn, if you find this video for some reason, and you might have changed your perspective, I still think you have a hatred for the sound, even though you removed a lot of your avoidance behaviors. Let's talk about some of my avoidance behaviors that I had. I didn't use silverware. I didn't wear headphones anymore. I didn't drive with the windows down. Anything that will perpetuate the fear of ear damage getting worse and making my tinnitus sound more, I avoided that greatly. And because the audiology community and the American tinnitus, I got made fun of the other day calling it tinnitus, but someone wrote in the comments, take it an American to take the word tinnitus and mess it up. So I'll call it tinnitus for the remainder of the video. Well, I took tinnitus and I went to all the American Tinnitus Association websites. I watched all the videos, trying to do everything I can to get the sound to go away. I watched numerous videos on YouTube of people crying. Tinnitus ruined my life. Now where I am today, it's very clear and obvious. There should be no ear distraction headphones ever. They're never needed whatsoever. Your fear of the sound is what's perpetuating it and your avoidance behaviors. But this isn't a tinnitus video. I'm going to go directly into full sensory motor. Once I thought I was getting better, everyone's heard my story that's watched my videos. I was driving. What else do you habituate to? That keyword habituate that I never use. Hand on the steering wheel, foot in the gas pedal, blinking. It was like this. Ba-boom, 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 and just full-blown panic attack, over, latched. I got real quiet. Erica was, I remember maybe she was like, what's going on with this kid? I was so like, when you're just freaking out internally. Got home, was laid on the apartment complex. I literally laid like this. And I had a full-blown panic attack. And I said, I can't stop thinking about my blinking. Now she kind of was, thinking, what the fuck is going on here? Something is really seriously wrong with this kid. What do you mean he can't stop thinking about his blinking? I mean, that's such an odd statement. You go somewhere and you say, I can't stop thinking about my blinking. Hey, I'm super hyper aware of my hairline in my haircut. Hey, I'm super hyper aware of my bladder awareness. Hey, I'm super aware of my pelvic floor, which I see being a chiropractor a lot. A lot of fear scenarios with pain. I'll make some really good videos on that coming up. And then, boom, and I was done. So that goes up. And by the way, the other ones I had too is belt line hyper-awareness because my fear of being fat, with body dysmorphia, not having any muscle. Thumb hyper-awareness. My thumbs are just become like, was so conscious of my thumb motions. That would last for months. Muscle tension in my neck. That one, Paul Little and I both had that really bad. Swallowing saliva were my primary ones, but I've had blinking. I had some breathing. A lot of anger sensation, hyper-awareness, hatred of anger. So that ended up in November of 2019, so coming up on 4 years ago. that is when I landed in the mental hospital. Multiple misdiagnoses. They told me I had bipolar, told me I was manic, and I'm not even scared of having those. So it's not about me proving whether I have OCD or not, because that's a dead end if you have the fear of having a mental illness. So, but I stayed there for 96 hours. It was a very unique experience, and I felt very low, and I wanted to kill myself. I didn't want to be here anymore. I thought about blowing my brains out. I thought about hanging myself. I thought about drowning myself. I thought about electrocuting myself. When I would drive past this construction site, I would see myself kind of hanging, when all the cranes are lined up. I would just see myself hanging, and I would think this would be so much better. Thankfully, I didn't do that, and I'm here recovered to give you as much information. That's why I'm so passionate about this. So when I left is when I met Rob. I think I had met Rob right before I went into the mental hospital. Now, this is important to state that I spent the next 8 to 12 months not listening to Rob. November, December, January, February, March, April, May, those 7 months, because I didn't put my video games away till May 1st of 2020, because that was my largest compulsion. I played video games 80, 90 hours a week, 36 hours at a time, didn't speak to my wife. My wife was about to divorce me, rightfully so. I was a mess, gained 50 pounds, was smoking a lot, drinking a lot, using pornography a lot, not going to work. My life, the Nick you see today in videos is very different than the Nick that when I was stuck with Sensorimotor. And I had everything that we all have, right? Just snap out of it. You can do it. It's just a sensation. Everyone breathes. Everyone salivates. It's not that. But unless you have chronic OCD, it's very difficult to understand how it presents in the mind and why the fear feels so real. So when I moved to Colorado, which was 2 months after I left the mental hospital on January 9th or 10th in 2020, that's when things got really serious. That's when my video game addiction in this room spiraled out of control. That's when I no longer wanted to leave my house. It was a really, really scary time in my life. Very, very scary time in my life. And I finally was at work one day and arguing with Rob, which I did. I was one of those very stubborn people. So the individuals who were stubborn on the phone with me and the one-to-ones. And, I get that. I was one of those people myself. I remember sitting there and I thought, this is never going to work. I have to put my video games away. So I took my console, my nice PC, and I gave it to my neighbor's kid for free of charge. He was like, what? I'm like, get this out of him. Please take this from me. I probably looked crazy because I probably was just so disheveled at that point. And that was that. And that was what leads me to the next point, which is May 1st of 2020. And that's where I put my video games away. So the next 12 months were brutal. Till about the middle of 2021. I had many good moments. I was back to work. I started a business with my wife at the end of September of 2020, healthcare company with my wife. Every meeting with everyone revolving a business was torture. Attorneys, accountants, marketing, meeting people in the community, meeting other medical providers. I was a fucking train wreck. I couldn't keep myself composed. I was so afraid of not being composed. I was afraid of not being composed. And then it was like, I need to be present. Well, you're afraid of not being present. Mimic the not present sensations over and over and over again. A lot of avoidance behaviors and everything. After about the first year, 12 to 24 months, my sensations were still very prevalent because I was still scared, but I had no longer any avoidance behaviors. Those are our biggest compulsions. I will talk about that in the next part, which I'm about to go into. It was about 2 to 3 years in when I realized that my worst case scenario was pretty much accepted. And that was the awareness of any sensation being present. So again, it could be blinking, breathing, swallowing, saliva, your heartbeat, any of those. The fear of those staying around for the remainder of your life is what drives it. There could be no compulsions present, no avoidance behaviors. Each particular sensation has unique compulsions and avoidance behaviors. Breathing has a lot of health. What if I forget to breathe? The manual of breathing sensations. What if I hyperventilate and pass out and die? And fear of death. And everything in between. Not engaging in intimacy, no sex. These are things that no one talks about. No riding your bike, no exercising, no swimming. Nothing where no running, of course. Anything where you notice your breath more. Staying in bed all day, sleeping your life away, taking sleeping medications. Abuse of benzodiazepines. I'm not here to talk about medications, just what I see, because it numbs the sensation and the anxiety present. A lot of people with sensorimotor don't just have anxiety. It's a lot more hyper-awareness, going to be both. So that's the background of where I am. Let's talk about how to actually break down the fears of sensorimotor in the next 5 minutes. So most people believe that A equals C. Activating events equal depression and or hyper-awareness. So they believe the hyper-awareness of my breathing sensation is why I'm depressed. my saliva hyper-awareness is why I'm angry. And that's a piece of it, but it's not, because I could become hyper-aware of my sensations again right now, and it wouldn't lead to depression, and it wouldn't lead to anger. Can't say for sure, but 99.9% of the time. Because it's tried to come back, because it was my main theme. Anyone's main theme can poke at them from time to time, because that's what held the most weight. Not everyone, but a lot of people. It wasn't until I realized that my B, my belief system, activating event, any sensation, but we'll use saliva and swallowing, you plug and chug any of yours, equaled, for me, panic, hatred, depression, because I had a lot of avoidance behaviors, everything we talked about, and I complained a lot, I vented a lot. So, activating event, your particular sensation. When you go to this book on the reading list, page 96, 97 is probably the most important page, 2 pages in this book. So activating event, your sensation, the beliefs behind it that are keeping you stuck. Noticing my saliva and swallowing forever is horrible. My life is ruined if I'm hyper aware of this sensation. Nobody understands me because I don't hear anything about sensory motor too much. This leads me into the next thing I want to talk about, which is exposures have very little to do with sensory motor recovery. A lot of people are like, I'm doing ERP for this, ERP for that. The purpose of ERP and exposure-based stuff is to expose yourself to stuff that you're avoiding. You can't avoid your blinking. You can't avoid, like, I'm going to blink for the rest of my life. You can't avoid your swallowing and saliva. You're going to salivate. That's going to happen, right? Drinking coffee, drinking water, eating spicy foods. You can't get away from your bladder sensations. You're going to pee. You're going to hold liquid in your bladder and be full. You can't get away from the bridge of your nose. Your nose isn't going anywhere. And we work with people who have done crazy things. I mean, people who have cauterized stuff, people who have cut things off, people who have, it's really sad. It's really, really sad. That's why I'm so adamant about making so much content on this. So exposures play very little. There are cases when an individual comes in and they're so incredibly scared of their sensation where I might have them sit in a chair and just notice their breathing, for an example, or swallow a few times. But that runs its course pretty quickly. The exposure is going to be there forever. So the only thing remaining is your belief systems about the sensation, such as, if I notice this for the remainder of my life is ruined. I can't notice this. It's the worst thing ever, etc., etc. That's what you want to go at. As time went on and I became more comfortable with noticing my sensations, I started to realize, well, maybe the saliva swallowing, maybe the belt hyper-awareness, maybe the physical symptoms of anxiety isn't really as bad as I thought it was, but my perception on those was the worst. You're not going to be able to disregard. You're not going to be able to just say, stop ruminating. I hear this all the time. I mean, I would say there's probably not, besides Rob and me, no one on the planet works as many sensory motor sufferers as we do. Just because they watch our content and they're like, these guys are inside my head. They must really know what they're doing. And it's not because we're bragging. It's because we've had it. And I had it with you. I mean, I was in the mental hospital. I wanted to kill myself to where I am today, where it's no. Last thing I want to talk about, you'll never hear me use the word habituate. Habituate by default means to never notice again. That is the opposite of acceptance of your worst case scenario. Have my sensations habituated? Of course. Do I notice them really anymore? No, besides how a human would be, I guess. I don't use the word normal, but I'm not afraid of noticing my sensations, where for you, you're very afraid. If your goal is to never notice your sensations again, if you're trying to self-reassure, improve your way out by saying, Sally and Jimmy breathe, or Nick notices his saliva, it's not that. You have to go towards your worst case scenario, which is noticing your sensations for the remainder of your life and slowly chipping away at that belief by reading the books on the reading list, etc. Thank you so much for watching this video. There's a lot of hope. Please reach out to us, phil@ocdrecovery.com, and we will get back to you in a timely fashion. There is so much hope. I've been recovered for a few years now. You can do it too. It's about, look, your belief about the sensation is what's driving the cycle, plus your avoidance behaviors. Thank you so much, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.